to go over some exterior stuff. Now it's like pouring rain outside, so I don't want to film it in outside. It's the back of the vehicle, and the nice quad exhaust here. I did get these tinted because they're bright red from the factory, and then these side markers too, just to give it kind of a more of a darker look. Power tailgate option here. Here's your trunk space. Privacy cover, that comes off too, so you got pretty good trunk space. Full-size spare under there. And then the seats fold down too with a pass-through. One touch, and you can also stop this at lower heights too, like if your garage is a little too high. This has the roof rails, which I've never used, but you can throw on like a box or some crossbars there. Here's the side profile. Only thing I've done is wheel spacers. So I push these things out a little bit, give it more of a little of an aggressive stance here. I love the exterior of this car. It's very aggressive. Here is the second row room. That's got the 4-zone climate control right there. And here's the space for if you are going to have your kids or friends and family. Pretty decent space. It's on a mid-sized platform. Of course, it's passive entry, so as long as you have your keys on here, you can lock it like here, or you can grab the handle to unlock them. Mirrors fold into automatically. Get this functional exhaust here. Airflow goes through there. Little heat extractors there. The nice LEDs, signature LEDs, functional. It's for the air to get into the intercooler, and then this is a air to go into the radiator and everything. But we got the adaptive cruise radar there. This is kind of what it looks like in a standard garage. So yes, you can fit this car pretty easily in a standard garage. Now this is a single one too. I really don't have anyone else opening the side doors and that kind of stuff, so just my door. Gas cap here is just push, and that's it there. What's up guys, it's Brent, how's it going? I'm gonna do a little video. Someone requested me to do a likes and dislikes on my F-Pace SVR that I have here. First thing, let's go over the interior a little bit right now. So it's a push to start. So I have the key inside the vehicle. The Jaguar terrain modes or the Land Rover terrain modes are really nice. This is the comfort mode, dynamic mode, eco mode, and then the grass, gravel, snow program. This thing is a beast in the snow too. I definitely pop it into the grass, gravel, snow program on some of these days in Washington when it gets, we get a decent amount of snow here. It handles very well. Now I'm on the 22-inch wheels with the Pirelli All Seasons, so they handle very well for the tires that I have on there. I always drive this thing in dynamic mode. Now I bought this car because I wanted something sporty and fun feeling. Comfort mode to me is just too dull. Everything's turned off. The dampers aren't stiff. Shifting, steering wheel, all that kind of stuff is just, I don't like driving it like that. I want it to be sportier and super aggressive, so I leave it on dynamic mode. I always turn this off because I hate the stop start. I don't like it when the engine turns off at like a stop sign or a stoplight. And then this gets turned on. You gotta leave, I love the valves open. It sounds very nice. Those are some of the things I do like. This car is pretty well equipped. Now it's got the heated cooling seats. I use the heated seats all the time. Cooling seats. I don't really drive it in the summer if I have to, so I never really use the cooled seats when it's hot out. Heated steering wheel is awesome. Now this has the Drive Assist Plus package, so it has the lane keep assist, blind spot assist, adaptive cruise control. I'm not a fan of these. I just don't like using semi-autonomous or autonomous driving stuff, so I've never used this before. I have everything turned off, lane departures turned off. I do use the blind spot monitoring system because it is helpful to see when someone's in my blind spot. I don't use the assist function. So that's, I mean, it's an option, it's nice. Let's see, I got the auto headlights right here. So these things will turn automatically on or off. That's a nice feature, but you know, most cars have this. The 2020 and 2019 SVR, with an option, you can get the head-up display. Now it is on the old school laser projector, as you can see that color there. It's not the best. It's kind of blurry. The focus isn't there, and it's, you know, the clarity is not too good. The new ones are a lot better. I use this just because so I can kind of passively see when I'm driving how fast I'm going, but other than that, I don't use it for anything else. Traffic sign recognition's there, which is kind of nice. The overall space, now this is on the XF platform, so it is, you know, more of a car, which is what I like. It's got decent space too, but I don't really use it for that. It's got more of a, you know, a car feel. Fit and finishes, you know, aren't bad. I guess it's kind of dependent on what you're used to. If you're going to compare it to the new one, then this is, you know, they did a huge upgrade on here, but kind of for what I'm looking for, it's nice. It's got the Meridian surround, which is the 825 watt sound system. It sounds pretty good. Now, I've had a problem with my door somewhere in here. I don't know if it's just like the build or whatnot. On songs with, you know, a lot of bass and everything, sometimes on certain notes it'll rattle around here, and I can't, for whatever reason, I can't find a fix. Might have to, you know, do like a warranty repair, a warranty claim on it. But that's one thing I don't like about it, is there's something that kind of echoes in there, which is kind of dumb. Another thing I don't like or dislike is this Touch Pro. I never really use it. It's not super intuitive too. Like, I can either use it for my navigation or my phone. That's it, which is fine, but it'd be cooler, as I said before in another video, if I had other stuff to use, like just more informational displays, that kind of stuff. I think that would be kind of cool, but that might go against kind of what Jag's looking for. This is whatever. I use the navigation sometimes. It's nice. And then we got the media. If you just use it for that, it's fine. Or plug in your Apple CarPlay with here. That's the only way to use it. Other than that, there's really not anything else you would use that for. Climate controls, I do like this. It's straightforward. Temperature, fan, that kind of stuff. I do like that. It's simple. The rest of the stuff that I do like is just mostly about the drive, and which is why I really like this vehicle. I always drive, so dynamic mode, go into sport mode so I can have it shift at a higher RPM. The sound, the backfire, the torque vectoring by braking, all those while you're driving the vehicle and you get really used to the vehicle, is stuff that I really, really like. Honestly, sometimes I wish it was a little more stiffer. Some people say, hey, the vehicle's too stiff. And there are ways around that to where you could get some like dampers and everything, which are kind of cool. Whew. Yeah, that 5-liter supercharged V8 sounds very good. I love the little backfires you get around 3,000 RPMs too. And that's the torque vectoring by braking. It's like a downshift, if you can hear that. Just gives it a lot more of a sporty feel. I don't even use the paddle shifters. Kind of make this thing seem, at least from my experience with it, made it feel a little laggier. Now it is kind of fun to pop it into paddle shifters or manual mode every once in a while. I just find it a little less intuitive. Obviously, it is kind of fun to bang through the gears, but just the way this thing's set up, I just leave it in sport mode. Do a little pull. Ooh. Oh, this thing sounds is why you should buy an F-Pace SVR. Now this is a 2020, so they made the newer ones, the 21s, the 22s, a little more quiet. I think they added some more resonators. You can take a resonator delete and get effectively the same sound. It still sounds good though. I haven't done anything to this thing, so this is just pretty much stock. So for me, I kind of like the positioning. So it is on a car platform, but I'm sitting at a point where I can kind of see downwards. I got a nice angle of the head-up display. I can see a lot out of the windshield. I see the hood and the nice heat extractor and everything. So it's a good kind of point of view for me. I drive this thing kind of like a car. Sometimes it struggles to find, like while you're kind of just driving, putting throttle and brake pressure on, it kind of struggles to find the gear to stay into, which isn't the end of the world, but you will notice that, I guess, depending on if you're going to notice those kinds of things. But it's not really that big of a deal in my preference. And then the brake pads, the factory brake pads, I know there's a fix or some aftermarket ones you can get that are less squeaky, but they're very squeaky. You will have a squealing sound. It doesn't matter if the car is clean or dirty. For whatever reason, they'll squeal really easily while you're braking. It doesn't do it all the time, but you will notice it, and that's something you kind of just got to get over. That's one thing I've noticed about driving this car. I've had it for almost a year, coming up in January. What do we got? We got 7,880 miles. Honestly, I only drive this thing when I can't drive my ZL1. So whenever it's raining out, cold, snowing, that kind of stuff is where these miles have come from. See, for me, the cars that I actually get are cars that I get like a feedback out of and like a response out of. It's got to be, for me, fun to drive. It's got to be intuitive, responsive, that kind of stuff. Because there's so many cars out there that you can get, but I got to have something that I'm going to enjoy driving around. At least in my preference. Like if I didn't care, then there's a lot of other cars that I could get that are not as expensive. Let's see. Let's flip you guys around here. Here's the backup camera. Backup camera's pretty good. Parking sensors, they work. I do like the configurable lighting. Steering wheel feels good. It's got these nice notches and everything. One thing to note too is I run a radar detector here. It's not hardwired or anything. I didn't really want to mess around with the electronics or try like a tap or anything through there. So there are no outlets up here. The closest outlet is in here. But they didn't really make a nice escape out of here, so you would be kind of crimping the wire over time, which is kind of a weird design. I guess they didn't intend for anything to be kind of hanging out of here. So I don't have this cable run. I bought an extended cable here. It actually goes all the way around back here, and the cord just sits there. So I use that to plug into my radar detector there, which is, it's not really an inconvenience. It'd be kind of cool if they had something up here. Use this space. This space up here, I'm assuming is for your phone, but it's kind of useless. Like because the shifter gets in the way, so, and it's not wireless charging, so it's just put there. I guess if you want to leave it there, it's fine, but that's just kind of wasted space in my opinion. They should have put like an outlet there or something. This stuff here, this gloss black or piano black veneer, is nice when it's not scratched, but if you throw your keys in there, phone, if you have jewelry and that kind of stuff, it gets scratched and then it looks terrible. Luckily, I don't really put anything on it because I know that. So mine is, this veneer here is pretty much mint, so it still looks like super nice. But, you know, over time, if you're not thinking about that, this stuff gets scratched up super easily. What else is there? I got the rain sensing wipers on. They work pretty well. Sometimes you got to reset them by messing with this minimum maximum interval. Car is equipped with it's like a auto high beam. I turn that off because mostly, like, if it's pouring down rain and that kind of stuff, the sensor gets confused and actually turns on here. So auto high beam is disabled through here. If I was saying before, if it's raining a bunch, the sensor gets confused and for whatever reason will toggle on or off, and then people think you're flashing your high beams at you. So that has led me to just turn them off. Honestly, these LEDs are so bright that you don't even really need them. Now, keep in mind, when you are driving, I like this stiff ride, but if you're going to drive it in dynamic mode, it will be noticeably stiffer. Even comfort mode, the SVRs will drive stiffer relative to the normal. So if you're looking for something more comfy, then I don't think this would be the car for you. You'd not want to get the V8 platform. I bought this to have a fun daily to drive around in. I get about, on a full tank of gas, about just under or around 300 miles to a tank, which is like 15 miles to the gallon. But if you're driving in normal mode, that kind of stuff, you could probably expect somewhere, 330, 340 on a full tank, which is better than what I get. So this car too, when you're in reverse, does not have rear cross traffic detection. So what that means is when I flip you around here and when I'm backing out, it's not going to tell me if there's a car coming this way or this way. Something to keep in mind if you're thinking about, getting one. It's got the sliding panoramic roof and panoramic sunshade. I never use that, so it's always just closed. These are the SVR, so they're Windsor leather performance seats that come on the F-Pace SVR. They're very comfortable. They're not super aggressive, which is nice. You got a lot of, controllability and customization on the seats, lumbar, side bolsters, that kind of stuff. They're not going to be like a puffy feeling like on a Range Rover, obviously, but they are. I think it's just supportive enough and still comfy. Now, the longest I've driven in this thing is like 6 hours, and it was fine, honestly. It was great for a 6-hour drive. That was 6 hours straight of just sitting in this vehicle, which is fine. Maybe a little bit of like glute fatigue or whatever, but it wasn't to the point where I had to like stop and get out of because they're just so uncomfortable, which is kind of nice. So if you're thinking about longer road trips and everything, it's nice. Great space if you're looking for that. I mean, you can fit a couple seats in there if you want, if you have kids, or you can fit comfy 4 people, and then trunk space is, not that bad. The heated steering wheel gets super hot, which is nice if you're turning it on because your hands are cold and everything. It does tone down after like a good 20-30 minutes. It'll get less hot, which is actually kind of nice. The heated seats get super hot too. I always just leave it at 1. Even if it's like freezing, like 30 degrees outside, I will still just turn it on 1 because 3 is like an inferno, which is nice, but not for me. What else is there that I likes and dislikes? Blind spot works nice. Now the Jags all are a 5-year, 60,000 mile warranty, and that includes the Jaguar Elite Care, which is the complimentary maintenance. Meaning if you bring it in for the scheduled maintenance, which is found in your owner's manual, it'll cover everything that they list in there. So you got to make sure you bring it in on within the right month. That's key. Since the factory is paying for your maintenance, you got to make sure that you know your in-service state of your vehicle so you can claim those scheduled maintenances. Not a lot of people are explained that at time of delivery, which is kind of shame on the salesperson. Or if you buy it secondhand, they won't know about it or go over it, so you'll miss that. If you have existing warranty, you can still claim whatever the remaining maintenances that weren't used yet. I mean, that's about $400 or $600 of savings each year, which is kind of nice because they're all, Jaguar Land Rover parts, so they're expensive if you just do it on your own. That is a nice thing about the Jags too. I'll list every problem I've had with this car, just to give you guys an accurate representation. And it's nothing bad. I haven't had actually anything really bad, but I'll kind of go over everything that I can think about. So, squeaky brakes. So you can hear that? Nothing you can do about that. Anything bad about nothing's really. So, a few times this Touch Pro can be temperamental. It is not fast at all. Sometimes it's slow. It needs to boot up. Sometimes it's like booting off. It feels like a 10-year-old processor at times when it's booting up. Like, a lot of people expect it to operate like a iPad or a tablet where it's just click, 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 boom. But it's not. It is not super fast. So if you click on it a bunch of times, it'll freeze, and then you have to reboot it by turning off the car and letting it reset. Or sometimes you just gotta let it load. Like, it'll load up the SVR logo. Sometimes you'll see your home screen, but that does not mean that you are good to go. Like, you gotta let it fully load, because sometimes it'll load up with the display, and then you still gotta let it load because your phone's not connecting yet, navigation's still loading. The onboard navigation sucks at times. Like, it has to load. Like, when you don't see a map on your display, it means it hasn't loaded yet. So if you click on it, it'll just say navigation loading, and it'll take a good couple minutes for it to actually load up. I've had one time where, I don't know when, I think it was like reversing or something, and I tried to click on my media because I wanted to listen to some music, and then the screen just turned off. And I couldn't do anything about it because I was driving. The only alternative would have been to stop the car, turn it off, and reset the computer. But I drove, it was like a 20-minute drive or something, but I just kept driving with the screen off. And then, but I could not listen to music. It was, after that point, I needed to reset it because the music was not turning on. So, and there's nothing to do about that. So I just, once I got back home, I turned off the car, locked it, computer rebooted. Next time I got in, it was fine. But that's, I guess, one problem that I had, which is fine. I haven't had any problems with drivability with this vehicle so far. No, like, check engine lights have popped up or anything, or codes or that kind of stuff. Luckily, it's been a pretty good car. Now, I let it like warm up a little bit. Sorry. I let it, warm up a good couple minutes before I drive it away. At least let the electronics load and everything. I did like a 500 mile or 1,000 mile service on it. After I kind of drove it around, and I think after I put on like 1,000 miles, I had them do like an oil service on it, and then I did one at like 6 months because their scheduled maintenance is, I feel like it's a little too conservative, especially for some of these like high output engines. Like, there's no way you're going to get away with doing an oil change once a year or whatever, 12 to 16,000 miles, especially if you're driving it. So I always recommend everyone do like an oil change every 6 months, like a 6-month interval, and then do the full service if you think it's worth it every year. But I've already had this thing, I've had it for 11 months, and I've gone through 2 oil changes. So I keep up on the maintenance and everything, because I feel like it's essential. Only premium gas in here. Forced induction vehicle, so you got to put premium gas, whatever you have, 91 plus. And other than that, I haven't had any problems. The gas sensor for these cars, and sometimes it is dependent on the gas station you use, like the nozzle. Sometimes it won't recognize what's full, or it'll stop, and you gotta like hold it down because the sensor gets, I don't know if the sensor thinks it's full or whatnot. That is one thing I've noticed happened a lot of times when I'm filling up. It doesn't matter where you position the nozzle into the vehicle, it'll always stop sometimes because it thinks it's full. That's something that's annoying. I don't really know how to fix that, or if there is a fix to that. Sometimes, and actually this is funny, it's actually doing it right now. I filled up like 2 days ago, and the full tank was about like 300, so this thing should have dropped a little bit, but it's still at full. I don't know why, it's just a computer thing. It'll update, but this is kind of an accurate, this is your estimated range left on your tank. It just, the display won't update sometimes. It doesn't do that all the time, but this is still showing I have a full tank of gas when I definitely know I do not have a full tank of gas. Just a technical glitch, I guess. And honestly, that's about it. I bought this car because I knew that the capability, the drivability is just, it's fun. I think it looks great, sounds great, that kind of stuff. So that's what sold me on getting this car as a daily. Now the negatives that I have experienced, fortunately, are pretty small stuff. From what I've seen, your experience may differ. I've seen worse. Vice versa. But overall, this has been a pretty solid car. So if you're thinking about getting one, hopefully this helps. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to drop a comment down below. Hit that like button and then smash that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.